Good afternoon and welcome to Crime Corner. I'm OmniDog from OmniDog's Vault, and I'm here with the Minister of Comics. How's it going, Min?
Doing pretty well. Apparently, we have better weather up here than you do.
Yeah, we always get thunderstorms, and we're always worried they're going to knock out power because we have so many trees in the area. So we lost it for a little bit, and that put me behind schedule for this. And then OmniDog is actually leaving his house to go to a neighborhood party at 5:30. No, I don't want to do this. Yes.
I've never thought I'd heard those words in that particular order from you.
Yes, I have to do this. So I am going to be going to a party, leaving my house, going to a party. I think it'll be okay. We have all brand new neighbors in like 4 of the 6 houses on our street. So we need to, or 4 of the 7 houses. So this will be a way to meet them all up close.
Leaving the house, party with neighbors. Never thought I'd hear those words, Jess.
No, that's true. It's kind of hard to believe myself.
And it seems like our European viewers are happy that we're in a more Euro-friendly time.
Oh, well, good. Hello.
Haiku says, thank you.
Haiku's happy. Tolga Burke, nice. There's Reaper, good to see you. Smolak, how's it going?
Well, since we're on a crime corner, I just read this brutal and dark book, probably the most brutal book I've ever read, Big Man Plans. I read it like 3 years ago, and I was like, oh, yeah, that was a really great book. Let me read that again. I was like, oh, my gosh, I can't remember. I didn't remember how, gross out it was and how graphic it was. I mean, it's great, but it's definitely not for everybody. Awesome Eric Powell art. It's about a little person who, out on the back, he says, I'm here to rage and get respect. And that's what he does in the entire book, which shows him as a tunnel rat in Vietnam and going crazy on the big mean streets of some unnamed city, taking revenge. It's definitely a book that won't be for everybody, but for those of you who are dark-hearted like me, you'll love it.
And you're saying that you're reading that book because you have do you have something to announce, or are you waiting?
Well, I will say that it looks like at the end of the month we'll be interviewing Eric Powell. I still need to finalize the exact time with his assistant, but we should be interviewing the creator of The Goon, Big Man Plans, and Hillbilly at the end of this month. So as soon as we know something and it's finally firmed up, we'll definitely let everyone know.
Right. Please have more neighborhood parties if it means earlier streams. We generally try to do crime corners at this time on Fridays. But I don't welcome Jasper Plan 9, first time live listener. Thank you. And the collector asked me, doing it for your wife, how much influence are you going to take? We've actually, I think the neighborhood has undergone an upgrade, sort of. We've got a lot of young couples with nice kids. First, the important thing is they're nice kids. Second of all, they all seem to be very nice. There's only one group of neighbors that I haven't met yet, and so I'll form my opinion on them tonight.
Nice.
I have to open the door because it's getting hot in here.
Yeah, your neighborhood sounds very similar to mine, where a lot of the older population is moving out, and a lot of younger people like me are moving in.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a happening area at this point. So it sounds like you're going to be you're trying to nail the door shut so you don't have to move because you don't want to leave. Because what is the declaration that you made, Jess, about moving?
Oh, well, that I'd rather die than move.
That's a big statement.
I don't want to have to move all this.
It's like how people fear public speaking more than death. You fear moving more than death.
Oh, yeah. I have no problem with public speaking.
It's moving, then death. Public speaking is way down there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, moving scares me more than public speaking.
Joachim is here, and I think he was the one telling you never to move, right?
Who? Oh, yeah. Like with just the minister, or me too. We'd be happy to have you on.
Yeah, we should have him on for a Batter Days. I think he's a big DC fan, especially.
Batter Days, we should have him on.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Good.
Well, Batter Days is pretty much whatever we want to do anyway. People always make fun of us. It's not really a Batman show anymore. But sometimes it comes up.
No, Mrs. Omnibog, I am an OmniDog, actually. She didn't see it, fortunately, because she wouldn't hold it over me. She'd hit it over my head. That's not something that needs to get loose in her computer.
Yeah, me and Jess are honest that our wives are in charge. Well, Tyler Blunt acts like he's in charge when he's actually not.
He admits he's not in charge.
He talks a bigger game than we do.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's not a matter of if you're whipped. It's a matter of how whipped are you. In the grand scheme of things, we're not too bad.
No, I think we've achieved a good balance.
We're at a good balance, yeah.
Yeah. So I will apologize to everybody. I don't like reviewing and talking about out-of-print books because it's only going to make you want it more. People have been asking for a review of it, and of course for Reckless. I will say you can get Sleeper online, Comixology, and Kindle. So you're not completely out of luck. But I think I put links for the 2 trades in the description. Those are out of the second one, or the first one's out of print.
So I have this Wildstorm Classic Volume 1 they came out with, but DC in DC fashion never came out with Volume 2. So I had to find the older Season 2 copy at an LCS. I'm pretty sure you can just go on Comic Hub and look this up. I'm sure you could probably find it for a decent price. I can't imagine this is going for well over cover. The annoying thing is they both have the same exact cover. That's so annoying.
I think that's funny.
And they have different spines. So I mean, as long as I have it, I don't really care.
Yeah.
It was better to go this route than it was to buy an Omni that's really expensive. So this could be an option for people. I'm not sure how readily available this first volume is, but I think you could probably track them both down for reasonable prices. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I would assume. But it's not easy to get it, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you can get it digitally. So, when I hadn't read Sleeper before, and I was always drawn to this image of Miss Misery because it's such an awesome drawing, an awesome illustration by Sean Phillips, and I did not know it's not. Well, it is in the Wildstorm universe. First of all, I didn't know that because the whole first prologue and everything is with the Grifter, who I was familiar with Grifter, and it sets into motion the series of events that put Holden Carver into his conundrum, which is that he's deep undercover in a crime organization, and his handler is I just gave something away. Maybe I shouldn't have. Sorry.
Good job already. 5 minutes in.
Yeah, spoiler. Sorry. So Holden Carver is deep undercover. He wants to get out, but his handler is in a coma for the first half of the book. Then his handler gets out of the coma, which we read in the afterword by Ed Brubaker was a surprise to him. He always had an ending in mind, but people decided at DC or Wildstorm or wherever it was that they wanted another season of it, season 1 and 2. And so he worked it so that the handler came out of his coma, and what Holden Carver had to go through between the masterminds of both the United States government, secret organization, and the crime organization, who was a mastermind himself, Tao or Dow, however you want to pronounce it. I thought it was great. I didn't know. I would say you have to have. I don't know how you felt about the Wildstorm, because you do need to know a little bit about Grifter, but I guess you could always wiki Grifter the character, and then you can just go right into it.
I guess I felt like you didn't have to know anything about the Wildstorm universe. Personally, that's how I felt. I felt like it was a good introduction. It doesn't really cross over that much, especially in the main series, barely at all. There's anything.
Right.
So besides that first initial story, like you said, there's not really much connection to the Wildstorm universe overall. I think it's probably the most accessible of all the Wildstorm books to read.
Yeah, it helped that I had knowledge of the bleed and I had knowledge of the authority and stuff, but I don't know that you'll be able to figure it out if you don't have Wildstorm, but it did help me that I did have Wildstorm knowledge. But yeah, like the minister says, it was it just had some tangents in there. I loved it. It's one of those books where you don't know which way everybody's going. There's so many blind alleys and backstabbing, twists and turns. You don't know who's holding what cards, what cards somebody's holding. You don't know where you're really going in this book, and of course the art is great. It's a younger Sean Phillips, so his art doesn't look exactly like it does today. But I found it to be. I read the whole thing yesterday, so I finished it in a day. I did not finish what they included at the end with the Jim Lee art. But I didn't think I needed to. That is definitely a Wildstorm story.
I don't think my copies come with that.
Okay. But they came with the prologue with Grifter, right?
Right, point blank.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Midnighter does appear in that, so it may be helpful to have some Wildstorm knowledge, but you almost don't even have to read the prologue. It wasn't the most. I mean, I would definitely encourage reading it, but you could really dive into the main Sleeper series and be fine. I think they were both really good. Obviously, the Sean Phillips stuff is that much better because this is like when their creative duo started. I think Sean Phillips helped fill in with inks in Scene of the Crime because Michael Lark didn't like his inks, and that's when this really important comic relationship began. And this is their first main series they worked on together. And I think this is probably most comparable to what's that book called? Oh, come on. What's the book called with the superheroes?
Incognito?
Yeah, Incognito. This is probably the most like Incognito of all their books. It has a little bit of sci-fi, superhero element, but it's not focused on a supervillain like Incognito was.
Yeah, these are all powered posthumans, they're called in Wildstorm terms. I mean, mine has a Vertigo imprint. I don't know if it showed up initially with a Wildstorm imprint.
Yeah, I have DC, Wildstorm, and then Wildstorm on both of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of similar to Ex Machina has a Vertigo logo on my spines, but that was a Wildstorm book, I think. No, I don't know if it was Wildstorm or it was Helix. I think it was Wildstorm, actually. I can't remember.
I collected it in floppies, but I don't remember the logo. I have it in hardcover.
But yeah, sometimes that happens where some books start as Vertigo, some books don't start as Vertigo, and then they get that treatment. Yeah, so it was Wildstorm at first. Ex Machina was.
Ex Machina, okay.
Right.
How'd you find that out? Did you ask Siri? No.
I just looked on Wikipedia because Siri takes 20 minutes and usually doesn't help you very much, which we've learned on this show many times.
It doesn't help you at all.
So how do you think Sleeper ranks with Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips for you? Would you say it's in the upper echelon, in the middle, even the bottom is still amazing stuff. Like they don't have any bad stuff, so bottom is still better than most comics that are out there.
Yeah.
So where do you think it ranks for you in their catalog of work?
I've read everything at least twice by him, so I haven't read this a second time. I haven't had time to properly digest it, but I will. I need to read Cruel Summer again.
That's my favorite.
That's your favorite?
I think it's my favorite still.
Yeah, I would say right now it's probably right in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Again, it's by saying it's in the middle, we're not saying it's bad. There
No.
are so many great comics from them. It's an embarrassment of riches. It's hard to kind of pick what's the upper echelon. But the upper echelon for me would be like Criminal and Killer Be Killed.
Right.
And those are hard to top for me personally. I think Cruel Summer is the best of the best when it comes to Criminal, the series.
Right. And I loved, although I sold it, I loved My Heroes have always been junkies.
And that's part of Criminal, so technically it's Criminal.
Yeah. So that's Criminal book 3. So maybe that's my favorite book of him because that contains my favorite story of his. But you're right. When everything's a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, everything,
right.
When you say it's just a matter of shades of gray, sort of, when we're saying, well, this 9 out of 10 is, and I don't even know how the 10, I would just say to me, they're all 10s out of 10. They all of his books with Sean Phillips and the Michael Lark Scene of the Crime.
That was great. And Velvet's great.
Yeah,
Phillips, but still,
they're all. I don't know how they could get better. Maybe I'm not. I just don't know how they could get any better than they already are. So to me, they're all 10s out of 10. They're just perfect comic books because I loved them all. I can go back and reread them, and I enjoy them just as much as the first time, if not more, because I can appreciate the character development. One thing about a book this big is you really get to know and care for the characters, even though they're unthinking, uncaring, killing machines. In Holden's case, he wanted to be a better person than he was. But the character development in Sleeper is amazing because there's so much of it. There's so much material.
And what a great ending. I don't want to spoil it, but such a noir ending. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
It's Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker. There's not really a happy ending for most of their books.
I felt like that was probably the only ending there could be.
It was happy in its own way. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it was the only ending there really could have been.
And Jasper Plan 9, I don't want to be the actually guy, but My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies actually is a criminal book. Not to correct you on your first time here, but Bad Weekend is also criminal. They're both in the Criminal third deluxe hardcover.
Yeah.
And if you have the original novel, it says a criminal novella.
He is totally being the actually guy right here.
Sorry. Jasper, I'm normally not this big of a jerk. I just had to, I don't know. I was like, I just want everyone in the chat to make sure that they know.
Yeah,
Pulp is not a criminal book.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm actually going to pull that out and read that tonight real quick because I really want to check that out again. I love that book.
So, Jasper, we're not beating on you. We're just gently teasing you.
And someone asked earlier if they missed the tangents. We never really got to tangents, but if people ask us questions, we'll definitely answer them. Yeah,
if you want to get on to tangents, just feel free to ask us questions, and we'll tangent away. We've only got till 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, because that's when I have to venture out into the world against my will. So whatever you'll see me like bound and cuffed, being wheeled up like Hannibal Lecter up to the neighbor's house. So we don't have a lot of time. We did want to discuss Reckless also. It was the first time I read both of these. And I love this new character, Reckless.
It's like Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips talked on the phone. They were like, we have this really big fan in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania named Taylor Brown, and we want to make the perfect book for him. And they made the perfect book for me. Like, not to spoil my thoughts too much, but this could end up being my favorite title from them if it keeps going this well.
Yeah.
Because I just love this format. I love this character. I love PI novels, and these stand toe-to-toe with like Matthew Scudder, Easy Rollins, the Kenzie books by Dennis Lehane, Raymond Chandler stuff. It's just awesome. I love how each one's like a case that he follows and he solves. I just love that they're doing this kind of like dime nickel pulp novel from the 50s and 60s, but in comic form in 2021. That's just fantastic to me. What a great idea for a comic book. And it follows Ethan Reckless, who's not exactly a private investigator. He's unlicensed. He's kind of like a repo man. He kind of solves problems for people, and he operates out of 1980s Los Angeles, and he gets involved in a lot of different cases. And there's at least going to be 5 of these books. What's that? Yeah, that's the coolest part. He owns and lives in an abandoned movie theater and watches movies all day.
Yeah, let me show you that where he's talking with his assistant. And there's the movie theater, and she's got short purple hair and cool glasses. And he sits there all day watching, Three Stooges or classic Maltese Falcon-like films, and has an 800 number you can call to help you solve your problem. So each book deals with either a client's solving their problem on the 800 number or a tangent of that where he's in this book, Friend of the Devil, he is well, let's see how I could sum it up. He and a librarian girlfriend are watching a movie in his theater, and she sees her half sister in the movie in the background. And her half sister had been missing for a little bit and hadn't stayed in touch. And so that sets off a chain of events that leads Ethan to try to track her down. And of course, it's never as easy as you think it's going to be. It goes here and there and other places before he finds out where she is and what happens. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's great.
And I really think the character of Ethan is really interesting. He went through a huge traumatic event that has kind of left him at a baseline where he has no emotions. He's not really feeling. And the only way he could really calm down the voices in his mind is through solving cases. And that's when he's finally able to sleep. He's finally able to relax. He's finally able to feel at peace. And when he's righting wrongs. And I think it's just such an interesting character that I'm really excited to follow. Because with these characters that you read in pulp novels and PI novels, it's not mainly about the cases, it's about the characters. Because you don't really remember the cases years later, but you remember the experiences you have with the characters. And Ethan and Anna are really interesting characters that I'm excited to follow up on throughout the years as they continue with this series. So we have at least 5 planned, and I'm hoping they go beyond that.
Oh, I'd like 10 of these.
I never want this to end. It's awesome. I would love it to go to present day or something, and that's how it ends. That'd be fantastic because they skip ahead years throughout each volume.
Yeah. And the art is great. I think, does Jacob Phillips do the colors? Yeah, that was our first interview, right? Jacob Phillips?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good guy. So it's typically great Sean Phillips artwork with colors by his son, who was a really good guy. And I love the colors. As you can see, the palette changes from page to page. And everything is captured perfectly here in this scene, with him just sitting on the beach. And I will say that I think Sean Phillips has the pose of people smoking cigarettes down perfectly.
I love those new splash pages they started doing in Kill or Be Killed, where it's one single image with a bunch of text and a lot of monologue. I love they started doing that. Again, that's very noir. That's a very PI novel thing to do when you're in the mind of the detective and listening to their thoughts about the world.
Yeah.
And Ethan has that really interesting perspective where he's a nihilist. He thinks the world's going to end very soon because of pollution, because of climate change and things like that. But he's like, even though the world's going to end soon, in my opinion, I still want to do good while I'm here. And it's a really interesting perspective to have.
Yeah, I just don't know how you can be any better than this duo is writing these perfect books. I just don't. I just imagine we can't wait for more Reckless books. If that's the direction these guys are headed in, to do nothing but Reckless books, that's completely fine with me. If we get like 2 Reckless books a year or something, that would be ideal.
The third one comes out the end of this year, so we have 2 coming out in 1 year, like you said. And they have at least 5 planned. I'm hoping that there'll be more beyond that, like you said. But it sounds like they really want to stick to the graphic novel format and not really go back to the monthly issues because they're selling so well of pulp and of this. This kind of might be their new format. And I think this is the future of comic books.
Yeah.
The future of comic books isn't floppy single issues. I think it'll be digital first and then graphic novels and collected edition. That's just my personal opinion. I know that kind of spells the death of the comic book store, but I'm just trying to be realistic of what's actually going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, we'll certainly see how it goes. Either way, I'm okay as a reader. If this is how it's released, fine. I'm happy getting this. And I am now to the point where I can't get too many more physical copies of books. I'm going to have to be digital on a lot of things because I am now floor shelving. I have now moved to the floor. So if you want to see,
you're straddling the line between collector and hoarder right now.
Yeah, here's my.
Is that your 2 week of OmniDog haul?
Yeah, it actually is. And there's Darkhawk trying to defeat my modem with Moon Knight defending it.
Yeah, Jasper, Criminal is not coming out in floppies. It's not being released right now. Maybe they'll come back to it in the future, but they're not doing it as of right now. And IQ points out something that this is basically the European model for comic books. And that's a really good point. We're acting like this is a brand new model, but just in America, this isn't usually how things are done. So Jess and I are speaking as ignorant Americans.
It's the best way to be.
I think you're more well-versed in Euro comics than I am, though.
I do have everything I've got from Europe is a graphic novel, or a lot of them are graphic novels that are larger than normal and paperback.
So Jess, would you say which one was your favorite, Reckless or Friend of the Devil? I think Friend of the Devil was my favorite of the 2.
Yeah, it was my favorite too. I loved the librarian character. I thought he gave her a lot of interesting personality.
Especially her introduction, where she kind of is like rude to him and calls him out for being like a macho jerk.
Yeah. And Sean Phillips' art for her is perfect. She looks just absolutely perfect. He does have the smoking thing down perfect. It's all the characters smoke. Yeah, I loved them both, but this Friend of the Devil was the one I liked the best.
I love the ending to the Friend of the Devil too, how the case wraps up and how he solves it and kind of wraps a bow on it. That was really awesome. So the next one's called Destroy All Monsters, which he has that poster for that movie in his theater, which will somehow, I'm sure, play into that third book. Is that a movie you've heard of or seen before, Destroy All Monsters?
No.
Apparently it's a real movie. I've never seen it or heard about it before this, but I guess it'll come to bear in the third volume.
Yeah, it must be some kind of B movie, Trauma Studios, something type of thing. I don't know.
I love how Anna's like, listen, if you're not going to take a new case, we're going to have to rent out the theater and have these showings. Like, no, all the punks are going to come in and rip out the seats. And then he's like, fine, rent it out. They end up ripping out the seats and like causing a big stir.
Because she wanted to show Decline and Fall of Civilization by Penelope Spheris, which was a great punk documentary. I remember it well. It made me want to see that movie again. I really want to see it again.
I just love how he checks off the boxes of these pulp novels. Like the detective has a sidekick, that's Anna. He has a home base, the movie theater. He has a cool car, which is a van. Things like that. Like he kind of subverts them a little bit too, which is cool.
Yeah.
So as you can tell, Jess and I love this series, and you have to go out and buy it.
Yeah, we highly recommend Reckless. As much as I liked Sleeper, I will say I like Reckless a little bit better.
It's in my top 3 for them. I think right now it's Criminal is number 1. This is like a close number 2 right now. It could edge it out, but I have to give it some more time. And then Killer Be Killed is 3rd for me.
Ah, okay. I need to reread Killer Be Killed. Well, I've read it 2 or 3 times, but I need to read it again. I need to reread. I just reread Velvet. I need to reread Fatale, and I need to reread Cruel Summer.
I just reread Fatale for the 2nd time, like about 2 months ago. That's probably a middle of the road for me, where I liked it, but it wasn't as good as the other ones. I definitely enjoyed it, but that's probably there with like Sleeper in the middle.
Yeah. Actually, Hakim had an interesting question.
Am I close in how I say your name, Yel Wakim? Is that close?
No, you're not. That's way off.
It's close in how you say it. You just kind of like whisper it.
Well, that's Tyler got me to say it that way. I always think it's like Shwahim, but when he comes on, Shwahim. When he comes on, he can pronounce it.
Or he'll just mess with us and never tell us, kind of like how Stepan Sheds did, or however you say his name.
What is the thing that defines you as a comic book fan? How do you define your fandom?
That's an interesting question.
I think it's a really good question because I'm having to really think about it. I can't just have it pop out.
What is the thing that defines you as a comic book fan? I think I can almost answer for you, Jess. Whenever I think about you as a collector, as a fan, the word that comes to mind is fun. You just like things that are fun. That's probably the biggest thing I can think of. You still play with toys as a 60-some-year-old man in your basement. So I think that's probably the word I would think of when it comes to you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just want to enjoy the book. I want to have fun reading it. And that's really, when I started the channel, I think that is what I always wanted to convey to people, was comic books should be enjoyed and everybody should have fun with them. They're meant to be a thing you can have fun with and enjoy as maybe a sort of escape from life, or you can turn it into your life and have it be your life. But yeah, you're right. I just want to have fun. And I want people to enjoy the books that they read. I don't care if you are a person that loves Marvel or loves DC or only reads a certain kind of indie publisher. Whatever you read, I want people to have fun and enjoy reading and enjoy the hobby. As long as you're reading a comic and enjoying it, to me, that's why I created the channel, was to try and convey that sense of why comic books are so great, and recommending books that you can have fun with and put a little extra step in your walk when you're going up to the neighbor's house for a party, knowing you can come back and read comics for the rest of your night because your wife's going to be upstairs making cupcakes for some bridal shower tomorrow.
Yeah, I think for me, I view comics as a form of escape, but also a way of understanding the world a little bit better. I think the best comics, the best novels, the best films help you to kind of escape from life into a different world, but help you understand your own world in a greater way. Like I always say with superhero comics, they should aspire you to be better and to care about other people more and to be more selfless. At the same time, you're being entertained. And so I think the best literature, the best comics, best movies are able to transport you somewhere else, but also elevate you as a person, if that makes sense. That's maybe how I define my fandom.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I would have said for you, using the word aspirational.
So we know each other's answers better than our own. So that's good. Great question.
Yeah, it was a great question.
And IQ at 508, he is talking about something that we want to review hopefully soon is the Bendis Noir stuff. Like the crime noir omnibus.
Oh, yeah. Do you have that?
I have all the volumes that were reprinted by DC. So I have all the material that's in that omnibus. I think we should do that soon. I think our next video is going to be James Bond Part 3 because Jess and I want to read some more James Bond books. So that'll be our next crime corner. And then maybe the one after that, we'll do some Bendis stuff.
Okay, good. I'm looking forward to reading that Omni. I think that's Omni's probably too big for you to enjoy. That's why you got it in the smaller form.
It was out of print by the time I wanted to pick it up.
Oh, okay.
So I picked up those 4 trades that were reprinted by DC under the Jinx World label. I've read Torso about 2 or 3 years ago, and I greatly enjoyed it. And so I'm excited to read the other stuff too.
Okay, good.
Jinx, Torso, Fire. What's the other one? And Goldfish. So we'll read that soon.
Okay, good. Good suggestion, IQ. We're up for it. I'm just looking at some of the questions here.
And someone had an interesting question like 20 minutes ago that you'll probably not gonna be able to find, but I can summarize it. Oh. It was basically like how do you decide when it's time to reread something? Like, do you have a set, like, I would like to read this certain book every once in a while, or how do you decide it's time to reread something in your collection as opposed to reading something you've never read before? Because you have so many books you haven't read, Jess, and you famously said you don't know if you can read everything. By the time you either move or you decide to die, like you said. So, but we still both reread stuff. So what leads you to reread something when you have so much other stuff to read?
I don't have a set pattern. If I'm looking for something to read, I will just scan my shelves until something catches my eye. The thing that caught my eye is Cruel Summer. I think I need to reread that. I'm looking at the whole Brubaker shelf, and that's the one that sticks out to me as the one I need to reread.
And we all have books that we reread a decent amount. Like I know you reread Justice a lot.
Yeah, I love to reread Justice.
There's some other stuff you reread a lot too.
Irredeemable, I reread. Stuff that's in my top 5 or 10, I tend to gravitate to, even though I go back to it and I know I've read it 6 or 7 times, and I say to myself, I should be reading something new, but I really am in the mood for this.
I think I need to reread Secret Identity by Kurt Busiek again. I love that book. I think it's time for a reread again.
Yeah, that book is great.
The book that made me love Superman.
Yeah, that's amazing. Smolak, I'm okay. Is everything okay with you? I'm okay. I didn't see what your joke was.
You were just messing around with you being late earlier. That's all.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to see the earlier comments because I was late and I wanted to get the show going. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. I was just late because the power was out for a little bit. Wait. I still remember the overview you did of it, Jess. The wait, he also drew it reaction. Was that for the Bendis Noir?
You always get mad at people who can draw and write, don't you? Because you're jealous.
I am very. Jasper has the 4 Gotham Central hardcovers signed by Rucka and Lark. That is nice. I almost wish I had those hardcovers instead of the Omni, but I'm happy with the Omni.
Why? Because it's too big, or what's the reason?
Yeah, it is too big. I feel like it's my preferred form is the oversized hardcover.
Yeah, that's why. Like, I know you're gonna. I think we talked about on air about you picking up the new Justice League New 52 Omnibus, and I'll buy the standard size hardcovers off of you. The thing is, even though Omnis look nice on my shelf, I'll delay reading them because I know it's gonna be annoying.
Because they're so big?
Yeah, because I was like, I'll pick something else. I'll pick a deluxe hardcover, a trade paperback. And so I end up delaying reading them for a long time. And because they're just not easy and comfortable to read.
Yeah.
Deluxe hardcovers are perfect for me.
I have a thing that I should probably promote and see if I could get a sponsorship from. It's my laptop holder, but it's perfect for Omnis because it's shaped and it's a foam thing covered with nice cloth that you set your laptop on top of. It's like a lap holder, and it's really soft. But it's perfect for hardcover books. I put all my hardcover books on this thing in my lap to read, even just oversized hardcover, because I don't like I wear shorts all the time, so I don't like the hardcover digging into my skin. So that's what I put all my Omnis on.
And pretty soon you'll be wearing Swartz. That's Tyler Blunt wears every day.
I saw you put Batsam in them today or yesterday.
I didn't even realize he had them until Kate put them on, and I was like, "Oh, he does have swords."
I didn't even know it was a real word.
It was just Tyler Blunt.
I didn't know that was a real word.
And Joel Greenlee has a good question.
Okay, what is there a definitive Superman book one? Whoops, it just moved.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think it is Superman's Secret Identity, because that is the book that made me fall in love with Superman. I liked him fine, but I thought he was kind of boring and not really interesting. And that book really helped me understand why Superman is so important and why he is essential. So I think that would probably be my definitive one that everyone should read.
And while I agree that I love Secret Identity, I would say Mark Waid's Birthright is the Superman I would say is definitive. With either of those books, you will love Superman.
I thought you would say Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
That's my personal favorite, but that's a love letter to the Sixth Silver Age, and I don't think everybody will enjoy that book as much as I did. That was a really personal book to me since I grew up in the Silver Age and read all those blue kryptonite, red kryptonite stories with Crypto and Bizarro and everything, and Mr. Mixes. And that Alan Moore story is really a love letter to it and a sort of final chapter. So they move on to a modern era Superman. That is my favorite Superman book, but I don't know that everybody would have their heartstrings pulled like mine was reading it. Well, now it's my show. Okay. Taylor will be back in a moment, and I will look at some of the questions. So, hello to Farhan. Speaking of rereading stuff, I'm rereading Why the Last Man currently, and just realized I enjoyed and appreciated it more the second time. I guess that's why with most of the comics.
Sorry, I'm using the Ethernet cable, and Sam pulled it out of the router. So that's why. All of a sudden, I see it go start to move, and I'm like, "Oh crap!"
Was he in the room with you?
No, it's plugged down the router downstairs. I have a long Ethernet cable.
Oh.
Our Wi-Fi, for some reason, it's buggy whenever I try to do live streams. So I plug in the Ethernet cable. I see it move, and it just does like the circles on the screen. Like, yep, he pulled it.
Good morning in India. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, awesome. That is one of the coolest things about these live streams. You always see people from all over the world.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of discussion in the chat about Bad Weekend and Cruel Summer and heroes are being junkies and everything else. So I know that's a confusing thing because Bad Weekend and My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies were issued before Criminal was even finished and collected into its oversized hardcovers. So T-Lar Bloon is in the chat.
And these are books that Tyler Blunt will not enjoy.
No,
Tyler, I have a book for you, though. If you're going to read any book, read Big Man Plan. This will be your book of the year. You'll love this book. Right, Jess?
Oh, you bet. Amiya, hello. It's 3 a.m. in India. You guys are the saving grace because of the lockdown due to the second wave. I am so sorry you're going through that. I'm glad we can provide some entertainment for you. My heart goes out to you that you're having another lockdown.
Yeah, I've heard India is one of the worst places in the world for COVID right now.
Oh, man. Oh, Hayden, I'm sorry you're too late. The show's almost over, but it's good to see you.
We still have a couple more minutes to take some questions, though, Hayden, if you have anything you want us to say.
You did sleep on it, Super Squad. Wait, Smotlock. If you are getting Deluxe Volume 3, don't get Cruel Summer as it is in there. Cruel Summer isn't, though. I think you meant to say Bad Weekend and My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies. Cruel Summer's not in Deluxe Volume 3. Ah. Okay. Right.
It is kind of confusing for people. It is kind of confusing that Cruel Summer isn't a Volume 4 of Criminal.
I'm glad that we can help you, Amiya.
And Hayden's watching the new Conjuring movie, Jeff, so I'm sure you'll want to watch it.
Oh, it's out. It just came out. Comic Books does. I want to watch Conjuring. Oh, so bad.
Is that on HBO Max?
Yeah.
I'm not into those kind of movies, but enjoy it, though. I think it's on HBO Max.
Yeah, I think so, too. Here's a good question. Elvis asks, do you guys prefer lighthearted stories or darker stories? He's the dark minister of comics.
I'm surprised you like Big Man Plan so much, Jess, because I know Men of Wrath you said was a good book, but you didn't enjoy it because it was too dark. I feel like this is like darker. And you love it. And you love that book.
I did love it. I'm going to have to reread it now because Men of Wrath really seemed to stand out to me as really dark. And now you are saying you felt like Big Man Plans was even darker. So
I don't know. Maybe it's the artwork, or I think Men of Wrath really starts out in a really dark way. One of the first scenes is the main hitman throws like a baby into the swamp. So that's a pretty dark way to start off a book. So
yeah.
maybe that's something that I don't know. There's just like the brutal revenge that Big Man takes out on these guys is it's something to behold for sure. Because Eric Powell's art is fantastic. And the Goon, I'm loving the Goon right now. I'm really excited to finish that. I finished the first 3 volumes of the Omnibus that they have out. There's like paperback Omnibus from Albatross, and that's a book where it's like dark but also hilarious at the same time. So they can get away with things that like you would think would be really disturbing, but they're really funny and make you laugh at things you probably shouldn't laugh at. And so the Big Man Plans is just dark. There's no humor. Whereas in the Goon, you really laugh off a lot of these really crazy stuff that happens.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to say that I actually have to go because I have to go out into the real world. I'd much rather stay here talking tangents and everything. But I have to venture out into humanity. So, Minister, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Minister of Comics, and I just put up a review today, and I try to post 5 times a week or more if I can. I post reels, I post pictures, I post some toy photography stuff, hauls, and Jess and I will be back for a Batter Days in the Batcave next Saturday. I believe that's June 12th. It's 8 o'clock is the new time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tyler, it's 7 o'clock your time, because I know you're not going to get that. So 8 o'clock EST next Saturday. We'll be back for Batter Days in the Batcave.
And you can find me on Instagram under OmniDogs_vault. And tomorrow night at 8, I will be doing a really good show with Kristen, Omnicat. We're going to be talking about the 5 or 7 books on our shelves that we are embarrassed that we haven't read yet.
Nice.
Yeah. And Highland G, I can answer this question when I see you tomorrow when you show up for Omnicat and OmniDog.
Ooh.
Oh, this is a lie.
Smotlock.
What the hell?
We don't compliment Tyler Blunt on this channel.
What are you doing? Good heavens. Okay. Thank you to everybody in the chat, and thank you to everybody watching this afterwards. We loved Sleeper and really, really loved the Reckless books. Please leave a comment, hit the like button, please subscribe, hit the bell notification, and we'll be back again soon. Peace and love. Peace and love. Thank you all very much.
Make fun of Tyler in the comments.
Yeah, please.